Hey guys, Tarke here, and today we're doing another Patreon build review. This one is for a mostly SSF self-crafted Xbox player, and Robert prepared a few notes for us, so let's just get into that. My profile name on Xbox is blank, if you'd like to look at it. It's been a pretty good league start so far, just saving for an Impale Watches, which has been 50x, which kind of understandable, pretty expensive, and also Xbox trading, kind of yikes. Other than that, love to see my damage and PB and figure out if there are any other improvements I've overlooked. Keep being amazing. I love playing Bay class while grinding, and he actually said that. So, one other thing he said at the end here. By the way, the rare gear on my character is all self-crafted, and as far as content I've done the build, I'm on Awaken 8. I've beat Cirrus on 8, but have died once. Done all the Simulacrum. 3 full clears. First 19 waves are easy. Only died to game crashes. Kosis is a bit of a bastard. So, yeah, basically pretty well-established build. Has done everything that he's needed to do. And is just kind of like anything you'd recommend pushing further. Now, the first thing I noticed was the life is very low. Now, I've always got the tendency to try and make the builds a bit tankier. Keep in mind that I used to play a lot of hardcore. I do regularly play hardcore these days. I bounce in hardcore and softcore. I tend to make my characters a bit more on the tankier side. So I'll probably make a few changes which might drop damage a bit, but up defense. If you're completely fine with the defense where your character's at currently, then, you know, ignore that. But if we start off by just having a quick glance at the skill tree, it's fairly obvious where you could fit more life if you wanted to. Since all of the Sun life is still available, there's just lots of like 5% life nodes, 4% life nodes lying around, so there's lots of easy ways you could just fill some stuff in there. Skill wise, I had a quick glance at this a second ago. It mostly looks solid, although I didn't notice any source of maim anywhere, which would be the main thing, or the maim thing, that was terrible, which you could do to maybe boost a little bit of damage up. So you've got Blade Flurry, Fortify, Impale, Brutality, Awaken, Melee Fizz, Infuse Channeling. Makes sense. Dread Banner, Enlightened, Blood and Sand. I'm pretty sure if you shove a Maim on here, you gain Deeps while in Blood Stance. Then you've got Ancestral Protector, Multi-Item, Ancestral War Chief with Impale. I don't know if that's really doing much, since you're most likely just using these for the buffs they provide, because you get the more attack speed and the more melee damage. So I would probably rather drop that Impale and put Maim in there, since they're not really going to be doing that much in terms of anything else. And then if you have is the enemy Maims. Yeah. Pretty big DPS increase. I'd probably shove Maim on these if you're going to run them. Herald of Purity, you could also shove the Maim on your stuff here, but your mannerization is pretty tight, so probably you're going to shove it on a totem. Herald of Purity, Enlightened, Pride, and you've got a level to Precision, which you've got good accuracy, so that's nice. You could maybe de-level the Precision a little bit, watching the hit chance. You could go down to like a level 14, 15. It's not 100% accurate, this, because these numbers do change based on the enemy. But you could afford to maybe de-level it a little bit to get slightly more mana. I don't know what your mana situation is like, so that's just going to be depends how it feels. That's maybe something you could look into. Running a Vol Molten Shell, increased duration. If you shove Second Wind on here, normal Molten Shell will have a small cooldown, so you have better uptime. You've got Summon Ice Golem. If you don't mind having Summon Ice Golem out, fair enough. Personally, I hate Ice Golems. I don't like Golems in general. They're annoying to keep active. They die regularly. They can mess up boss targeting and get you killed. If you don't mind running it, keep it. But that'd probably be the first thing I would drop. I'd maybe drop that, and then with the link you save, move stuff around, and then shove Second Wind on your Vol Molten Shell, possibly. Because yeah, you could drop that, move your Blood Rage into the helmet, shove Second Wind on the Vol Molten Shell. That'll make you feel a bit tankier. And you're using Reckoning from the shield, and then you've got some temp chains on hit gloves. Okay, so gear wise, we've got a Paradoxica, pretty good weapon, goes without saying, pretty good weapon. And you've got the attack speed and fizz roll on there, solid. You've got a Surrender. I don't know if I actually noticed, were you running DPS links on that? What has he got in off weapon 2? You could maybe consider running actual like damage links in there if you wanted to. I know that you can do pretty impressive actual straight-up Reckoning builds. But anyway. It's more of a face breaker thing, but it's something you could maybe experiment with. But Surrender's a solid shield. Then you've got a pretty good helmet, actually. Considering you're saying mostly SSF, you've got the reduced mana reservation on the Pride. Your mana reservation is very tight. It's 130 life, good resists. Can't really complain. You've got the plus levels on there, which I'm guessing you've got the Herald of Purity. Oh. If you shove your Herald of Purity in your helmet, the plus level of sucked minion gems will be a big DPS increase. So if you look, you go from 3.4, shove that in the helmet, you get an extra 100k damage. So swap stuff around so that goes in your helmet. So whatever you previously had in your helmet, which was the Ice Golem, move that to your gloves, and get the plus levels on your Heart of Purity. That's a good thing to look out for. So there we go. Without anything, we've improved the DPS by quite a bit by adding main and swapping that around. So anything past this point, it doesn't matter. We've improved the build. Pretty nice minus. That's actually a really nice chest. You got the minus 50 mana cost, you got 124 life, you got the enemies explode, you got the percent life. You've even got a little bit of res. Really nice gear, actually. Pretty solid temp chains on hit gloves. You got the nice life roll, got some good resists. Obviously, something like Assassin's Mark would be more damage because this is a crit build, but still super solid. Tailwind bleeds you inflict faster. Doesn't have movement speed on there, but doesn't matter because he's leap slamming to get around. Really nice. Then crit multi life res, bit of that fizz, circle of Gil. Pretty good gear, pretty good gear. In which you need life, percent life, chaos res, life gain on hit with their. Yeah, okay, your gear's like really disgustingly good. Life, chaos res. Yeah. Yep, looking pretty good. And then you've got Sign of Staunching, a Bottled Faith, and then you've got a Dying Flask of Warding, a Lion's Roar, and obviously if you tick these on, your numbers go up, but you're not always going to have those active, so that's not the fairest comparison. Then looking into the cluster jewels, we'll look at the cluster jewels separately. You've got a Watcher's Eye with the plus to impale, so you did get that in the end, nice. And you've got just a fizz damage resist. Oh, it's got Corrupting Blood on it, so it'd be nice for this to have life, but the fact it's got the Corrupting Blood, yeah, solid, fair enough. Then you've got the Glorious Vanity down there. So let's see what you've got with your cluster jewel setup. So you've got Deep Cuts, the additional Impale. Calamitous, that's not that great, because you're a Brutality build, so just do that. That's not really doing anything for you. Martial Prowess gives you some attack damage, some attack speed. Yeah. And then you've got a Heraldry Empowered Envoy. A Unaffected by Poison. This is where it seems a bit iffy. I'm not sure if a Herald Medium is the best thing for you, really. Let's have a quick look on PoE Ninja and see what people are using for. I know there's some really nice channeling mediums you could go for that a lot of people use when it comes to stuff like Cyclone, but obviously for Blade Flurry it's slightly different. Let's have a quick look at just look at the Big Dipper boys. Let's see what mediums they're using and stuff. So let's see, you've got a medium with, he's gone for channeling, rapid infusion, precise focus. You've gone for Warcry Jewel and a crit chance jewel. He isn't using any. This guy is using a Warcry jewel and a crit chance jewel. This guy is using a Voices with a crit chance jewel, a crit chance jewel, and a crit chance jewel. Okay, so it looks like swapping out that medium is probably going to be the main thing. And then giving the Unaffected by Poison's okay, but you've already got a lot of Chaos Res. Like, that caps your Chaos Res. Capping your Chaos Res is actually pretty strong this league. But there are better things that you could get here, and you can get Unaffected by Poison from Pantheon. So, I'm not entirely sure if I like that. So I think we're looking to change these two. Otherwise, obviously fitting a 2-point jewel into the board would be very strong. It might be worth cutting these points. I don't know if these points are necessarily worth... Like, you could cut these points, root out the side, and then get a 2-point jewel instead, which I think would be an improvement. Also gives you a tiny bit of int, which could be nice. Yeah, I think I'm going to cut that. Plus, let's shove the 2-point jewel in. And then... otherwise, I'd just like to fill in life. I'd like to fill in Psalm life and all this other stuff. So what can we cut from this tree, realistically? Like, what's the core things that could be dropped, necessarily? You can get Mana Leech on jewels. You don't necessarily need to use that point there on the tree, so that could be maybe another thing to drop. You don't need this full cluster, but it's a very powerful full cluster. It's mostly just the 141 life is the main thing, which is kind of triggering me a little bit. Is that efficient routing? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. You could do that. And then it's 1 extra point, but for 1 extra point, you're getting 8% life. So I think that's a fair swap. Then it also puts you on the outside if you want to take something like Honed Edge, which is a really nice cluster. So cheers to the raid. I'm just doing some build reviews for YouTube, so I'm recording at the moment. Would it be worth... No, I was going to say, would it be worth swapping the Glorious Vanity placements around to maybe put it over here? And then if you put it over here, it will hit Dismembering if you don't want to lose. I want to cut this. Doesn't feel that great to me. I'll put it up to a 95 tree. Wait, no, he's 96. So we cut. So... We basically cut a little bit there and just move some points around. I kind of want to cut like 1 DPS cluster just to fill in some life. So I'm not sure if Acuity is the best anoint either. What would I drop? I mean, definitely get the 2-point jewel, because with the 2-point jewel, you just go for life crit multi. Out of interest, let's see how some people are doing their rootings. So let's look for Glads. Do some heat maps. Some people coming across this way. You're using one hand and shield. Obviously, this is going to depend a lot based on if you're dual wielding. You're going to take Soul of Steel, do you? No. Not taking Soul of Steel feels pretty rough as well. Soul of Steel is an amazing cluster in terms of defense. I kind of want to drop like one of the weaker clusters. Maybe drop Brutal Blade. It's 4.7 per point. It's pretty good. Do you need the block chance? 48. Yeah. I'm getting kind of a lot of block chance from that. Okay, I think realistically that's really the only thing I would cut. And if you're happy with your defense, then I guess you're happy with your defense. But I'd maybe consider just looking at POB and cutting the lowest priority cluster, which I'd probably say is Brutal Blade. Gives you a little bit of extra frenzy generation there, but you have got Blood Rage of frenzies. It gives you also extra endurance charge generation, which is nice. Yeah, I don't know. It's a bit rough, but I would definitely make that swap. So let's mostly just look into different cluster jewels, because your gear's really solid. There's like, it's really just the cluster jewels the only things I'd really look into at this point. Otherwise, it's just a case of get the same items with slightly better stats. But the main thing is definitely something to look into. and swapping the Herald Fury into your helmet. So those two things are big. So now let's get into cluster jewels. So we're going to be looking at channeled, and we're going to be looking at crits. And you could also look into cursed, because you have got the curse on hit. But let's start with channeling skills. So for channeled, the main one that a lot of people really like is Rapid Infusion, which gives 50% increased effective infusion, which is like 5% more multi, but it's a 5% multiplier. Drop the sword node, pick up a Warcry jewel, drop the crit multi back up, then you can proc path the temple and tie up the tree. Possibly. Gives you a tiny bit of movement speed. It's worth noting that Rapid Infusion doesn't buff the defensive aspect, but does buff the DPS aspect. Hexbreaker is great when you're playing Cyclone, but you will have a lot of time when you're not channeling, so maybe not that one. Enduring Focus is good, just give another source of endurance charge if you want it. Precise Focus is solid for crit chance while channeling, crit multi if you've been channeling for at least 1 second. I don't know if that instantly ends, though, as soon as you stop channeling. Which, I guess, as soon as you release the Blade Flurry... No, I think that actually stops working. With like, it's good for the channeled bit, but when you release and you want to do the big damage, I guess this just turns off, so maybe that isn't the one to go for. Stoic Focus. Block while channeling. Yeah. Unwavering Focus. Nah. Vital Focus. Yeah, not too amazing. Not too amazing. Rapid Infusion's really the main one there. Let's have a look at the crit chance stuff. So for crit chance, you could go for Basics of Pain is fine. Your base crit is a bit low. Like, it's only 37.6. I don't see any source of power charge generation in your build, so you don't have power charges active. Your brutality, so you're not applying ailment effects. You're not doing dots. Area damage 10 multi. I mean, it's fine. It's a bit boring though. Unholy Might, you're... Nope. You and nearby allies 50% crit, 15 multi. That's very solid. Would probably recommend that one. Crit chance if you haven't blocked recently. Crit multi if you have blocked recently. That could be pretty solid since you've got 56 spell block. Pretty nice. Your crit chance, 5% chance, still double damage, 4% crit chance. That's very strong. Provocateur, you're not taunting. Attack and cast immunity seed if you've had a crit recently. Crit multi if you've taken a savage hit recently. 20 crit multi. Yeah, I kind of like the crit jewels the most. So I'd probably say drop your Herald one possibly for a crit one. I think this would be more damage. Let's just have a quick look. And the best one would probably be... I kind of like this Precise Retaliation, getting the 40 crit multi if you've blocked recently. 40 crit multi is a lot. Otherwise, we go for pressure points. So let's say you went for that. And if you blocked recently, yes. Let's see, say 3218. Yeah, so that's more deeps. Okay, so maybe try looking into getting a crit chance medium. And you want a 4 or a 5 socket because it's less points, so you also save a skill point. And then we were saying in terms of smalls, if you wanted to stick with a chaos one, so that you're capping out your chaos treasure, actually 12 over. You could go for... There's some good block ones as well if you wanted to push the block a bit further. You could go for ailment immunity. Could be a solid option. Could also consider dropping Brutal Blade and going for 2 mediums. I think I'd rather go for 2 mediums and then rejig your tree a little bit. So let's drop that Fettle. Let's drop that for another one of those. So these big DPS gains. Because if you got really desperate for points, like if you're like, Tarke, I don't want to unspec out of anything, screw you, you could just shove in just like normal jewels on the end to save points if you got really desperate. So if you did that, you would have a 94 tree, so you'd still have 2 extra skill points. So you wouldn't even have to necessarily drop any damage. No one saw me fluff that. So yeah, that would be something to probably look into. And then you could probably get away with a better large jewel as well. You could re-roll your large jewel to get the mana leech that way, and then you could drop that there. So let's, before I get too distracted, let's do that. So I think it's called Feed the Fury. You want 8 passives. Feed the Fury, no, that's the attack leech. Fuel the Fight is the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, attack speed, attack damage leeches mana, increased damage while leeching. So you could get Fuel the Fight and Deep Cuts, and that you get the Impale, you get the mana leech, and then you get to drop 1 point there. You can also just get mana leech on gloves, amulet, rings, and it's also a stat that you can get on normal jewels. So there's quite a few sources of it. So skill points are super, super valuable these days because of cluster jewels specifically. So anything you can do to save any points anywhere is huge. And then because you now no longer need to come along the top, you can now come along the bottom. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You would have to spend 1 extra point for life, but you would ideally be picking up that whole life thing eventually. Then puts you next to Iron Reflexes, which you could take to gain a bunch of flat armor. Also puts you along some decent block things if you wanted to push your block chance up a bit more. Yeah, just gives you access to better clusters because nothing up there was really affecting you. Could also then take Blade Dancer. I don't think... Does melee strike range affect Blade Flurry? It doesn't, does it? But if it did, you could take that. I mean, you could still take it for the enemies with the -10 fizz reduction. Possibly. You've got... I don't know, you've got a couple of options coming along the bottom. Not using two-handed weapons. That's no good for you. But, yeah, I don't know. I'd maybe swap that around that way. And then if you wanted to add another suffix on there, those are the main two to go for. You'd probably go for Martial Prowess again for the attack speed, the global accuracy, the damage, the one you currently had. But I don't know. Let's just say that you just got Deep Cuts and Fuel the Fight. Let's replace that one with the one we just crafted. It looks like the damage has gone down a bit, but you've gotten save skill point, which you can then spend on life, and we pushed the damage up a lot, so any small changes you can make anywhere is worth it to regain the life elsewhere. So in terms of what to then go for the small jewels, you would have to do a bit of a re-gear, but you could go for complete ailment immunity. And the way that you would do that is using 2 of these small... You're playing a block build, so you go for the block ones. And I can't remember what it's called. Not that one. No. Enduring Ward is Endurance Charge one, which you don't need. Flexible Sentry, that's the one. 3% chance to block spell damage, 3% chance to block attack damage, 25% chance to avoid ailments. So, if you had 2 of these on, then you would have 50% chance to avoid ailments. You can then craft on gloves and helmet, or the remaining 50%. So 25% you can craft on gloves, 25% you can craft on helmet. You could alternatively... I mean, you won't change your boots, because your boots are really good, because they've got the... Well, you don't actually need the bleeds, but you've got the elusive on crit and the tailwind on crit, so you wouldn't change the boots. But your gloves, like your gloves were nice because they had the life, they had the resist, and they had the temp chains on hit. But you would really want Assassin's Mark gloves eventually, so these you could swap out. And then your helmet. Your helmet's nice, but isn't that craft? Is that craft a suffix or a prefix? It's a suffix, I believe. So you could craft, if you swapped your resist around, you could craft it on there. So you could craft it on your current helmet without having to change anything out. So that's something that you could do. Possibly. Yeah. So that's something you could maybe look into. So that's one option. Alternatively, if you don't want to mess around with all of that stuff, you could go for life jewels to push the life values up more. Or in terms of Chaos Res stuff, if you want to go for Chaos Res stuff, there's Blessed, which gives life and Chaos Res. You can also get this on life jewels. Born of Chaos gives you maximum Chaos Res, which is very strong, since you are Glorious Vanitying it up, so you've got Divine Flesh, so you want to be stacking the max res. So yeah, you want to be using Born of Chaos the max res, sorry. So you then want ideally 2 passive ones, and let's just say you had those with then extra Chaos Res on top. Or all res or whatever. So if you have 2 of those on, you would then have boom, boom, 81. Your new cap is 85 because the Divine Flesh Jewel boosts it to 85, but with 2 of those you then hit 91, but the cap is 90, so you need to get some Chaos Res back into the build. So let's say that you... Easy ways of getting Chaos Res back into the build is you could have Chaos Res rolled as suffixes on these other things. If you couldn't get good 2 ones, if you want to be... Like, a very easy way of doing it is just having one of them being a 3-point jewel. And then it's like caps. So that'd be a way of doing it. You wouldn't need both of them to be 3s. You'd only need one of them to be a 3-point. So you could have a 3-point then a 2-point. So that's just something to look into. It's not counting the timeless jewel, but he's got the timeless jewel. And then to bring the points back down, you could theoretically drop the 2-point jewel, or you could just change this routing to be back along this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then go back to that routing that you had then. So that's 97 trees. So we've added 1 point, and that 1 point you can cut somewhere. So yeah, I'd probably look into redoing the small jewels, and then for that one remaining socket, just go for life crit multi or something. So just do life, boom. Strike multiplier, and then if you had resists, int, stats, whatever it was you needed, great, but otherwise, who cares? So yeah, with a couple of changes, you can gain, I think we gained like 1,000,000 damage. I think you had 2.9 originally. And then a bunch of max res, which is huge. Like, huge, huge, huge. I would seriously consider dropping some clusters, because it's like, if you can fit all this other stuff in, I would then afford to drop some damage on the tree to then fill in more life. So let's say that theoretically you did drop that, you still have more damage than you started with, and then you could pick up, that's 4 points. Pick up an extra of like 400 life, but, you know, it's up to you. Otherwise, though, gear is really solid. Mostly just teeny little mistakes with not having the maim on your totems, and then not having the Herald of Purity in the helmet. But yeah, really solid. Would recommend. If there was anything else I was gonna maybe change hypothetically, other than some tree stuff, that'd be just make it a lot tankier by cutting. If I was doing this in hardcore, I'd cut like probably 3 DPS clusters and then just go full Psalm life and maybe do some of the routing. You could maybe look into doing Warcry stuff. You could also go for Warcry mediums and then take Battle Cry on the tree for instant Warcries. That's warping the build very heavily at that point. But yeah, I would say you're onto something really solid, Robert. So yeah, I'm Tarke. Have a good day. Bye-bye.